everyone, welcome back. We are diving into one of the most essential processes for plant survival. Have you ever wondered how plant manage to transport water from their roots to their leaves against the force of gravity? So this all happens because of this process that is called transpiration. So in this presentation I will discuss about the transpiration and what is the basic mechanism behind this transpiration. Then what are the various types of transpirations, then factors affecting rate of transpiration. So these are the topics that I will try to cover in this presentation. Let's dive in. So firstly, what is transpiration? It is simple evaporation of water from above ground part, or we can say exposed surface of leaves through stomata or other organs in actively growing plant. So जो पानी का लॉस होता है in the form of water vapors from the exposed plant parts, especially from leaves or leaves में भी stomata के through, or it can occurs with the help of any other organs in actively growing plants. So that process is known as transpiration. So basically जो भी पानी का लॉस होता है in the form of water vapors from the exposed plant part, mostly leaves इसमें involved होते हैं, leaves में stomata होते हैं, so that process is known as transpiration. In other way, we can define transpiration. It is the biological process in which water is lost in the form of water vapors from the aerial parts of the plant. तो जो aerial parts है plant के, उससे जो पानी का loss होता है in the form of water vapors is known as transpiration. So this process contributes approximately 10% of the moisture found in the atmosphere. तो atmospheric जो humidity होती है उसमें 10% contribution है transpiration का, and remaining 90% comes from other evaporation, other processes, like we have evaporation from oceans, seas and other water bodies such as lakes, river or streams. तो वहाँ से भी जो evaporation होता है simply, which is a physical phenomenon. So this process contributes for 90% atmospheric humidity. So most of the plant lose more than 90% of their absorbed water through this process, which is known as transpiration. So this is a very expensive process. Next, transpiration demonstration experiment. So how we can demonstrate this process? For this we need simply these equipments. We need one well watered potted plant, and we'll cover this plant soil with the help of a sheet, plastic sheet. Then we will put a inverted bell jar on this plant, and we can observe after some time when we'll put this plant in when we expose this plant in the sunlight, we can observe these water droplets which are present inside this inverted jar. And this happens because of this process which is known as transpiration. So a small potted plant with covered soil, that is covered with the help of this sheet, plastic sheet with polythene is used, and thereafter it is put inside the glass bell jar. Then we can observe there is appearance of water droplets on the inner side of the bell jar wall after some time when it is exposed in the sunlight, indicating the occurrence of transpiration. So this is the very simple experiment that we can perform to demonstrate this process, that is transpiration. And this is second method by which we can observe this process. We will simply cover the plant by a polythene bag, and we will put this plant in the sunlight. इसको हम sunlight में रखेंगे, and after some time we can observe the small water vapors inside this plastic bag. So this is the experimental demonstration by which we can explain the process of transpiration, or we can observe the process of transpiration. Next comes types of transpiration. So on the basis of plant part involved in this process, it is of 4 types. One is lenticular transpiration, cuticular transpiration, stomatal type of transpiration, bark type. So transpiration occurs from the exposed plant parts, mostly from leaves, even from flowers, fruits or young growing regions of the plant. If this transpiration occurs from the stem surface, this is known as choline transpiration. A choline transpiration. On the basis of plant surface taking part in transpiration, it is of following 4 types. And the first type is stomatal transpiration. So this is the most common type of transpiration, and it accounts for 50 to 90% of the transpiration process. Water is absorbed by plants through their roots and then transported towards the mesophyll cell of leaves through xylem tissue in a cohesive stream and this upward movement is favored by this transpiration pull. So it is basically a suction pressure which is created in the leaves or in the mesophyll tissue of the leaves, which moves in the downward direction through the xylem vessel or xylem channel and reaches the roots, and after that the water is absorbed in the upward direction through this cohesive and adhesive forces in a continuous column. The liquid water, either at the surface of the mesophyll cell or at the inner side of epidermal cell closest to stomata, is converted into water vapors. तो यहाँ पे जो mesophyll cells में या फिर epidermis के नज़दीक ये जो water है in liquid form, it is converted into vapors with the help of radiant energy of solar or we can say solar energy. And after that जो ये water vapors होते हैं, they escapes to the outside through stomatal pores at the time when they are open. तो stomata जब open होते हैं तो ये water vapors यहाँ से बाहर move करते हैं by the process of simple diffusion. So these water vapors are released to outside by the process of diffusion. So simple diffusion process is involved in this process. तो stomata जब open होते हैं, so ये जो water vapors हैं ये move करते हैं towards the outside environment. The next type of transpiration is cuticular transpiration. So firstly, cuticle is a protective substance which covers the exposed plant part, and it is made up of a fatty substance which is known as cutin. So it is basically a protective substance which prevents the water loss. So transpiration can occur through the cuticle, which is made up of cutin, a fatty substance, or epidermal cells of the leaves and other plant parts. तो जहाँ पे क्यूटिकल की डिपोजिशन कम होती है वहाँ से भी ट्रांसपिरेशन हो सकती है, और जब डेज ड्राई होते हैं एंड स्टोमेटा आर क्लोज्ड, so maximum transpiration occurs through the cuticular surface. So it accounts for only 5 to 10% of the total water loss from the leaves. So 5 से 10% जो loss होता है पानी का leaves के through, that is through this transpiration that is called cuticular transpiration, and it occurs through this simple diffusion process. They are in herbaceous shade-loving plants. Shade-loving plants को हम बोलते हैं sciophytes, और जो sunlight में grow करना पसंद करते हैं plants, these are commonly known as heliophytes. So these are the terms that are used for these plants where the cuticle is very thin. Shade loving plants में cuticle thin होता है, और जो transpiration mostly होता है that occurs through this cuticular region. So this is cuticular transpiration and its rate is very high. While in case of xerophilic plants, they have thick cuticle on their leaves and stem in order to check cuticular transpiration. तो वहाँ पे जो water loss है वो कम होना चाहिए. So they have developed thick cuticle which prevents the excessive loss of water from these exposed plant parts. And this type of transpiration continues throughout the day and night. इसमें कोई check नहीं है, so it occurs throughout day and night. Next comes lenticular transpiration. Firstly, lenticels are small pores or opening which are present in the bark region, or is made up of some loosely arranged cells in the cork region which are known as complementary cells. So this is the diagram which shows this lenticels. And this is the cork region, which is made up of a dead tissue, and it is meant for protective purposes. और इसमें ही कुछ loosely arranged cells होते हैं जो जहाँ पे epidermis break होती है वहाँ पे, from which there is exchange of gases or this loss of water in the form of vapors, and these loosely arranged cells are known as complementary cells. इन्हें कहा जाता है complementary cells. So loss of water vapors through lenticels, which are small tiny openings on the barks and woody stems, and this contribution through these small openings is very low as compared to the stomatal transpiration, and it accounts for only 0.1% of the total water losses through this type of transpiration. And this is very important in deciduous trees during winter season in the temperate region. So जो snow bound areas होते हैं जहाँ पे snowfall होता है वहाँ पर जो deciduous trees होते हैं, deciduous trees means which shed their leaves in winter season. So इनमें जो transpiration होती है that occurs through these lenticels. And this type of transpiration also continues day and night because lenticels have no mechanism of closure. तो ये भी cuticular transpiration की तरह day और night continuously होता है because there is no control mechanism. Next comes bark transpiration. So it occurs through this outer dead tissue that is known as bark. This bark contains small, tiny openings from which there is negligible loss of water in the form of water vapors, that is called bark transpiration. So it occurs through this corky covering of the stems. And the contribution of bark transpiration is very less, but it is greater than that of lenticels because its surface area is greater as compared to the lenticels. Often more than lenticular transpiration due to more surface area, and it also occurs continuously during day and night because there is no control mechanism of this bark transpiration. So these are the different types of transpiration that I will discuss here. Next comes significance of transpiration. So this is very important process and it plays very important role in plants. So transpiration has beneficial as well as harmful effects on the plant life. Firstly, I will discuss about the beneficial effects of transpiration. Firstly, the first major role it plays in the plants is the ascent of sap, that is the upward movement of sap from roots to the tip of the plant. So this the most common mechanism of ascent of sap is transpiration pull, and the actively transpiring leaves generate a transpiration pull or suction pressure in the xylem column, which brings about the ascent of sap. In this way, water and minerals moves from the tip of the roots to the leaves in upward direction against the force of gravity. The next is passive water absorption. It means this process is free of energy, means it doesn't require energy expenditure of energy. So the most common method of water absorption is passive mechanism, and it relies on the process of transpiration. Next important role that transpiration plays in plants is mineral translocation. As we know that the water contains dissolved minerals, so these are also taken up by the roots through this xylem channel into the aerial parts of the plant. So the mineral salts are dissolved in the soil water and are absorbed by the roots. The absorbed mineral in the roots are transferred to the xylem duct, and they move up through trachary elements and are distributed in the plants by transpiration stream. So the next important role it plays, it causes cooling effect in the plants during hot summer days. So the water vapor released through this transpiration brings down the temperature of the plants and provide cooling effect. As we know that evaporation causes cooling, so this cooling effect plays very important role in the survival of plants during hot day in summers. The next is root development. The growth of root system has been reported to be directly linked to the amount of transpiration. A well-developed root system is must for healthy plant growth. Next important role it plays is development of mechanical tissue. Recent studies showed that this transpiration also helps in the development of mechanical tissue in the plants. A well-developed mechanical tissue makes the plant healthier, compact, and resistant to the fungal and bacterial diseases. So it also plays very important role in the development of mechanical tissue. The next important role of transpiration is maintenance of rigidity. So the definite shape and size of leaves or any other soft organs of the plant is because of the rigidity, and this rigidity of the cell sap is because of the intake of water. So transpiration maintains an optimum water level or water content in the plant cell, which helps in maintaining the rigidity and its definite shape and size. So this helps in maintaining the optimum turgor in the cells for healthy growth. The next important role it plays is it increases the taste of fruits. The quality and taste of fruit is enhanced in actively transpiring plants, and the concentration of sugars takes place when transpiration is rapid. So that's why this transpiration process is very important. So these are the beneficial effects of transpiration in plants, and this makes the fruit to taste sweeter. Next comes harmful effects of transpiration. So the first harmful effect is water loss. More than 90% of the water absorbed is lost to the atmosphere through the transpiration, and it increases the requirement of more water intake by the plants. The next is reduction in growth. If the transpiration process is excessive or very rapid, so it leads to the retarded growth of the plant. So when there is excessive loss of water through transpiration, less water is available for the growth and development. It results in retarded growth of the plant. So जो plants हैं वो properly grow नहीं कर पाते हैं. The next is suppression of metabolic process. When the rate of transpiration is high in the plants growing in soil deficient in water, an internal water deficit develops. तो cell में पानी की कमी हो जाती है, that is called internal water deficit. This may affect all the metabolic processes occurring in those plant parts or plant cells, because water is essential for all the metabolic processes in plants. Next harmful impact of the transpiration is wilting. When the rate of water absorption is exceeded by the rate of transpiration, that leads to this condition which is known as wilting, and it can be dangerous for the plant. It can kill the plant. So wilting may be caused in actively transpiring plants when the availability of water in the soil is very low and the rate of transpiration is very high. So simply, when the rate of absorption exceeds the rate of transpiration, this process leads to this condition which is known as wilting. Next is wastage of energy. So a plant requires energy for absorption of water. Unnecessary wastage of energy occurs during the process of transpiration. This is again another viewpoint, that is the harmful impact of this transpiration. So it is clear from the above discussion that transpiration has both beneficial as well as harmful effects on the plants. So that's why one scientist named Curtis has rightly said that transpiration is necessary evil. Means it is important as well as harmful for the plants. So as transpiration has more beneficial effects than the harmful effects, so it is definitely an advantageous process. So Curtis has rightly said that transpiration is necessary evil. Next comes mechanism of water loss. So most of the water loss occurs through the stomata, and stomatal opening and closing plays very important role in this process. Simply means stomatal movements plays very important role in this process of transpiration. So this transpiration takes place through the stomatal opening, which are present on the plants, mostly on the leaves, and the stomatal movements plays very important role in this the process of transpiration. So and after that, the water in liquid form, which is present in the mesophyll and in the stomatal chamber, is converted into the water vapors with the help of the radiant energy or solar energy, that is converted into the water vapors. And the water vapors are released into the intercellular spaces through diffusion due to difference in water potential, because जो यहाँ पे इंटरसेलुलर स्पेसिस है वहाँ पे वाटर पोटेंशियल कम है और जो सेल्स हैं वहाँ पे वाटर पोटेंशियल ज़्यादा है, तो वाटर मूव करता है फ्रॉम हायर वाटर पोटेंशियल टू लो वाटर पोटेंशियल. सिमिलर इज द केस हेयर. यहाँ पे वाटर पोटेंशियल ज़्यादा है स्टोमेटल चैम्बर्स में, और जो एयर है दैट इज़ ऑलमोस्ट ड्राई, सो यहाँ पे वाटर पोटेंशियल कम है, सो पानी यहाँ से बाहर मूव करता है बाय द प्रोसेस ऑफ सिंपल डिफ्यूजन. Finally, water vapors comes to lie in the substomatal chamber. So this is the stomatal chamber. यहाँ पे lie करता है पानी in the form of vapors, and the dry air of our atmosphere has very low water potential. जो air है उसका water potential कम है. So simply this water moves outside through the process of diffusion. So this also serves as a driving force for the movement of water vapors out of the transpiring organ. So this is the process or basic mechanism behind the process of transpiration. Next comes factors affecting the rate of transpiration. So we have two types of factors which affect the rate of transpiration, that is external as well as internal factors. So the rate of transpiration is influenced by both external as well as internal factors, and these are discussed below. Firstly, external factors, and in this it includes relative humidity. So it is the water content which is present in the atmosphere is known as humidity. So it has inverse relation with the transpiration. So actual amount of water vapors present in the atmosphere is known as relative humidity. It is inversely proportional to the rate of transpiration. So it means greater is the relative humidity, lesser is the rate of transpiration. अगर ह्यूमिडिटी ज़्यादा होगी तो ट्रांसपिरेशन का रेट कम होगा, and if relative humidity is less, so rate of transpiration is more. So they have inverse relation. The rate of transpiration increases at low relative humidity. तो जब relative humidity कम होती है तो rate of transpiration ज़्यादा होता है. So this is the graph which shows this relationship of humidity as well as the transpiration. On y-axis there is rate of transpiration, and on x-axis it shows humidity. So it shows that with increase of humidity there is decrease in the rate of transpiration, while if there is decrease in relative humidity, so there will be increase in the rate of transpiration. So these two factors are inversely related with each other. Next is temperature. So this factor shows the direct effect of or direct relation with the rate of transpiration. So a rise in temperature decreases the relative humidity of the air and increases the rate of transpiration in plants. So they have direct relation. So temperature has direct relation with the transpiration. It has been seen that for a rise of 10 degrees Celsius in the atmospheric temperature, vapor pressure inside the leaves doubles while the relative humidity decreases by 50%. तो जैसे ही 10 डिग्री टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज होता है एटमॉस्फेयर टेम्परेचर, so there is a decrease in relative humidity by 50%. And a leaf at 30 degrees Celsius can transpire 3 times as fast as it can be at 20 degrees Celsius. तो 30 degrees Celsius पे 3 times ज़्यादा faster transpire करता है leaf as compared to the leaf which is put at this temperature, that is 20 degrees Celsius. But there is certain check or upper limit for the temperature range. So beyond that range, plants are unable to transpire, means they stop the process of transpiration. So beyond 35 degrees Celsius, due to the inactivation of protoplasm and closure of stomata, there is decrease in rate of transpiration. So a very low temperature also closes the stomata and hence decreases the rate of transpiration in plants. So mostly the plants are able to transpire at a range of optimum temperature, that is from 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. And this range can varies from plants to plant. The next important external factor is wind. So this wind also have direct effect on the rate of transpiration. So it shows direct relationship with the rate of transpiration. It means higher the wind velocity, greater is the rate of transpiration. So an increase in the wind velocity, there is an increase in the rate of transpiration. The moving wind carries away the humid air and replaces it with dry one. So that's why with increasing the rate of with the velocity of wind, there is an increase in the rate of transpiration. But this is again up to a certain limit. If the wind velocity is very high, then plant feels the stress and closes the stomata and decreases the rate of transpiration. Thus it speeds up the diffusion of more water vapors out of the leaf. However, the wind of very high velocity retard the rate of transpiration, means बहुत ज़्यादा जब तेज़ हवाएं चलती है तो जो स्टोमेरा है वो क्लोज हो जाते हैं, because plant feels the stress, and under stress condition its first reaction is the closure of stomata to prevent the water loss. So this is the graph which shows a relation of transpiration and wind velocity. So we can observe from this graph that on x-axis there's wind velocity, and then y-axis it shows the transpiration rate. So there is increase in the rate of transpiration with an increase in wind velocity. So there is a direct relation, and it is up to a certain limit, and after that it will stop the rate of transpiration if the wind velocity is very high. The next important external factor is light. So light plays very important role in the stomatal movements, and the light intensity has roughly direct effect on the rate of transpiration. So the mode of action of light is both direct as well as indirect. So roughly the intensity of light is directly proportional to the rate of transpiration. So it means greater is the intensity of light, higher is the rate of transpiration. The stomata in the plant opens only in the presence of light, that is during daytime, with few exception, and that includes succulents, means mostly xerophytes. कुछ एक succulent xerophytes हैं जिनके stomata सिर्फ night में open होते हैं. Mostly the cam plants which show this mechanism, that is called crassulation acid metabolism. तो इसमें जो stomata होते हैं they opens during night time. Most of the transpiration takes place when the stomata are open during daytime, and these stomatal movements are influenced by the light, that is which type of light the plant is receiving. The next important external factor is atmospheric pressure. So this shows inverse relation with the rate of transpiration. It means higher the atmospheric pressure, lesser is the rate of transpiration, because it leads to the increase in density of air. So it shows inverse relation with the rate of transpiration. A reduction in the pressure reduces the density of air and favors the rapid diffusion of water. Means अगर atmospheric pressure ज़्यादा होगा तो air ज़्यादा dense होगी, that prevents the transpiration process. If this atmospheric pressure is less, so air will be less dense and it favors the process of transpiration or water loss from the aerial parts of the plant. So this is the reason that the plants growing on hills have higher rate of transpiration, because the atmospheric pressure is very low on the hills. Hills have low atmospheric pressure and they develop xerophytic characteristics. So इसलिए जो trees पहाड़ों पे grow करते हैं, they have some xerophytic characters, like their leaves are reduced into spines, or mostly it, जो hills होते हैं वहाँ पे shrubby vegetation होती है या small grasses होती हैं. So this is because of low atmospheric pressure and there are chances of higher transpiration. So to prevent this higher rate of transpiration, they develop certain xerophytes like characteristic features. Next factor is soil water. So this factor has direct relation with the rate of transpiration. So it depends upon the amount of water available for the absorption by the plants. If less water is available in the soil, the rate of transpiration will be lower, and if it is higher, so there is greater the rate of this transpiration. So wilting will occur if the absorption of water by the roots fails to keep up with the rate of transpiration. Means if this rate of transpiration exceeds the rate of absorption, so this leads to this condition which is known as wilting. अगर absorption का rate कम होगा और transpiration का rate ज़्यादा होगा, so it leads to condition which is known as wilting. Next important factor is carbon dioxide. So increase in CO2 concentration promotes the stomatal closing. Stomata close होंगे तो rate of transpiration decrease हो जाएगा, while reduction of CO2 favors the opening and thus affects the rate of transpiration by this way. So greater the concentration of carbon dioxide leads to stomatal closure and there is decrease in rate of transpiration, while if this concentration is very low, it favors the stomatal opening and rate of transpiration gets increased. Next comes internal factors. So it first include leaf area. So how we can calculate this leaf area? We simply just measure this length and breadth, and by multiplying these values we will get the leaf area. So the water loss due to transpiration is directly proportional to the leaf area. Greater is the leaf area, greater is the rate of transpiration. So the rate per unit area is higher in small leaves because they contain more number of stomata per unit area in them. जो स्मॉल लीव्स होते हैं उनमें जो रेट ऑफ ट्रांसपिरेशन है ज़्यादा होता है क्योंकि इनमें नंबर ऑफ स्टोमेटा ज़्यादा होते हैं. सो इट लीड्स टू द ग्रेटर रेट ऑफ ट्रांसपिरेशन. हाउएवर द रेट ऑफ ट्रांसपिरेशन पर यूनिट लीफ एरिया इन फॉरेस्ट डिक्रीजेस. फॉरेस्ट में ये डिक्रीज़ करता है क्योंकि वहाँ पे जो डेंसिटी होती है फॉरेस्ट की ज़्यादा होती है, फॉलिएज की, जिससे शेडिंग इफेक्ट होता है जो कम हाइट के प्लांट्स होते हैं, एंड डिक्रीजेज द एयर मूवमेंट इनसाइड द कैनोपी. सो दैट्स व्हाई द रेट ऑफ ट्रांसपिरेशन गेट्स लोअर्ड बिकॉज देयर इज स्ट्रैटिफिकेशन इन द फॉरेस्ट. तो जो लोअर वेजिटेशन है वहाँ पे लाइट और एयर पेनिट्रेट नहीं कर पाती है, सो देयर इज डिक्रीज इन द रेट ऑफ ट्रांसपिरेशन. नेक्स्ट फैक्टर इज द लीफ स्ट्रक्चर. So the presence of thick cuticle, waxy coating, sunken stomata, compact mesophyll and trichomes on the surface of leaves reduces the rate of transpiration. So ये जो सारे के सारे factors हैं वो transpiration के rate को कम करते हैं. And most of the dicots have stomata which are restricted to lower surface, and the leaves of dicot are commonly known as dorsiventral leaves. ऐसे leaves को हम बोलते हैं dorsiventral leaf because there is clear distinction between dorsal and ventral surface. So the stomata are restricted to lower leaf surfaces only. So they are equally distributed. जो stomata, they are equally distributed on both surfaces in isobilateral leaf. Isobilateral leaves means leaves of monocot. और monocot के leaf में जो mesophyll है that is not differentiated into palisade, spongy parenchyma. So there is no differentiation. Some xerophytic modifications such as development of prickles, spines, scaly leaves, phyllodes and phylloclades reduces the rate of transpiration. So these all are the adaptations shown by xerophytes to overcome this water stress, or we can say the excessive water loss. So these are some stem modifications in xerophytes that is known as phylloclade, as in case of opuntia. Then these leaves which are reduced into spines. Then we have this plant that is called Acacia auriculaformis, which is commonly known as Australian acacia. Here the leaf petiole gets modified into this leaf-like structure and performs the function of photosynthesis. This is known as phyllodes. While we have cladode, this is asparagus. So phylloclade, as in case of the Smollenbachia and Opuntia, then we have Asparagus racemosus. This is cladod, then chlorophyll in case of Ruscus, and phylloid in case of Acacia auriculaformis, which is commonly known as Australian acacia. Next important factor is stomatal frequency. So we can calculate this stomatal frequency or stomatal index by this equation. So firstly, we have to simply count the number of stomata which are present in per unit leaf, and it is divided by the number of stomata plus number of epidermal cell and multiplied by 100. So by doing this, we can calculate the stomatal index. So the stomatal frequency is the total number of stomata which are present in the per unit leaf area. Higher is the frequency of stomata, means greater is the number of stomata, greater will be the rate of transpiration. So there is direct relation with this stomatal frequency. Next comes orientation of leaf. ये भी बहुत important factor है. If the leaves are oriented toward the sunlight, so they will lose more water through transpiration. अगर direct exposure में sunlight के तो ज़्यादा water loss होगा. If they are placed perpendicularly, they will transpire at slow rate. अगर light के perpendicular leaves की orientation होगी तो उसमें transpiration कम होगा. Next important factor is root shoot ratio. So directly proportional to the root shoot ratio. Means जितना ज़्यादा root और shoot का ratio होगा उतना ही ज़्यादा rate of transpiration होगा. Increases the rate of transpiration while a low ratio decreases it. तो जितना ज़्यादा root shoot का ratio होगा उतना ही ज़्यादा rate of transpiration होगा. An extensive root system is more efficient in water absorption from the soil. And transpiration becomes maximum at maturity. जब plant maximum maturity में पहुंचता तो rate of transpiration maximum होता है, while it gets lower down during the process of senescence or aging. तो however the rate of decreases during senescence. जैसे जैसे plant में aging होती है वैसे वैसे rate of transpiration भी decrease होता है. This was all about for our today's discussion about the topic transpiration. I hope you will get some idea from this presentation. If you have any questions, queries, and any suggestions, you can give it in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Have a nice time.